My name is Sharon Jurina. I'm a first-generation descendant of White Earth Nation. Being a homeowner for me meant having a place where I could just always come back to, where I don't constantly have to be moving. I just have my own space to be at. And it also goes back to building the financial freedom of having something that I'm not paying rent on. I actually am owning it. I think in my lifetime, I've rented for like 12 to 15 years. So just owning a house meant that instead of building somebody else's wealth, I was building my own. Between owning my house the first time, I owned for 9 years, and then I sold my house because I wasn't sure where I wanted to live. So in that 2 years, I decided I was going to stay down here in the cities. And having my own home also meant I was able to have like my gardens to grow my own food and stuff like that, because I like to do the canning and making my own teas and stuff like that. A place where I could actually do the things I like to do. And also having a yard for my dogs. When I first moved in here, I had 2. So having space for them to run instead of having to always go find a dog park or take them on walks, I could let them out and they could just run and burn their energy. Because my puppy is a Springer Spaniel and she is full of energy. Full of it. So the first time I bought my house, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I wanted a house that I could do some of the remodeling projects on, which just got to be a lot. I decided to buy a 130-year-old house, which ended up being constant projects. So this time around, I knew what I wanted to find in a house. I wanted something that was already completely done, ready to go. And then working with Mni Sota Fund, I learned more about shopping around for lenders, which I didn't do my first time around. So that was actually really helpful in being able to find a program or a bank that would work with me, with not being a first-generation home buyer, with not being a first-time home buyer, to be able to make the most out of my budget. I first learned about Mni Sota Fund through one of my past coworkers that had used it for her home buying process, and then other coworkers that had gone through the first-time homebuyer class. And then I actually received a grant, and part of my grant was learning financial management. So they had recommended working with Mni Sota Fund as well. So I started with attending the first-time homebuyers class, and I started working with Roxanne individually to get more like step-by-step as to what I needed to work on. And figuring out different banks and lenders that I could communicate with that she's worked with in the past. And after that, as part of my grant that I had received, they wanted me to do financial wellness classes. So I enrolled in the financial wellness classes and I took those. Some of it was just refresher and review, but there was bits and pieces of it that I learned a lot in. I feel like I know a lot financially already, but it's also really good to have the reminders and like the different tax information that isn't always as well known. When I took the first-time homebuyers class, like one of the things I didn't know the first time around was to shop for lenders, and that I could shop for pretty much as many as I wanted in like the 1 month time period, and that it would only count against my credit the one time. So I thought that was good to know, because when I first bought my house the first time, I talked to one lender, that was it, that's who I went with. And I feel like I may not have gotten the most out of it, because I don't think at that time I even got the first-time homebuyer credits. So one thing I feel like I learned this time around in the first-time homebuyers class was to shop for my lenders. I didn't do that the first time around, and I don't think I even got the first-time homebuyer credits when I bought the first time, which I would have qualified for at that time. So looking back to the first time I bought my house, I had done a first-time homebuyers class, but I really didn't get much out of it. If I could give somebody advice, it would be to take a class. Even if you feel like you know everything and you're ready to do it on your own, it doesn't hurt to have somebody look at your finances, look at your credit score, and help you be able to fix and get you the best things that you can for your house and set you up for getting the most out of your money that you have for your budget. It was really nice to be able to access the resources and have direct people at a bank to talk to instead of just randomly reaching out to different banks and different funders. It was nice to have a contact and actually be already that first initial contact made for me, which is, helpful if you don't like to be the first one to reach out to somebody or you're not sure what to say. My journey getting this house was rough. I had been looking at houses for about 4 months. I had looked at probably close to 100 houses. And actually with this house, I wasn't even the highest offer. I had gotten advice from one of my coworkers to write a letter to the homeowner. So I wrote her a letter talking about how it would be really nice to have a yard for my dogs to run and play. And my dogs are actually who got me the house. I wasn't the highest offer, but she went with us because of my letter and my dogs. I was really excited when I got the news that it was mine. I was to the point I had told my realtor, if this isn't it, I'm done looking for a while. I don't even want to keep doing this for a while. But my realtor was actually really helpful in the whole process too. She looked at house after house after house with me. She sat and listened to me as I broke down a couple times because I had car issues in the whole process. And so she was just like, I'm here, whatever you need. I will be here every step of the way. Being a homeowner has meant that I don't have to answer to anybody else. If there's something that happens within the house, it's on me. I'm not paying somebody else's generational wealth. I'm putting my hard-earned money back into myself and my pups. To somebody who thinks that homeownership would be out of reach, my best advice would be to just meet with a financial planner, financial wellness coach, to really focus in on what your goals are and create a plan as to how you can actually feasibly get there. I think Mni Sota Fund would be a great place for people to start. You guys have the financial wellness classes, you have the individual financial coaching if that's what somebody wants. And it's an affordable rate, right? Because you can't find anywhere else to meet with a financial planner at the cost of what you can with somebody who's just there to help the community.